you know. It's a great thing.
I speak to a lot of American groups who come here for conferences and whatnot, and they say to me the one thing that they notice when they walk down the street here is the diversity. You see it. I mean, you see it if you go on the subway, and you see it if you walk down the street. And it is extraordinary. Now, and I think we've done better than most places in the world at kind of absorbing and integrating those people and welcoming and embracing them. There's still a lot to be done in terms of people who come with extraordinary academic qualifications and then find themselves, you know, driving the proverbial taxi. It's not a made-up story. It's true.
Speaking of controversial industries.
What's interesting is that when you talk to them in the cabs about their children are all getting a post-secondary education and are turning out as, you know, lawyers and accountants and whatever it is they want to be.
John, looking forward, what do you see as what you would most like to accomplish, or at least, even, I don't know how long you intend to stay as mayor, but get launched, even if it's finished by a successor?
This one project that I ran on called Smart Track, which is a regional train service that runs all the way through the city and connects big concentrations of jobs at either end, is something that I'm determined to get done. And I got, you know, it's a team effort, but I got $2.5 billion of support for that from Prime Minister Harper about a week ago. We've got support from the province for that of about the same order of magnitude, and so we're getting there to having the money. But it's a very sensible project because it's built on largely on existing GO train tracks, the existing regional rail tracks, but it will have stops through the city. I'd like to get that done.
Just so I know, or the viewers know, is this a system that runs, for argument's sake, from Montreal to Detroit?
No, it runs from Mississauga to Markham.
I see. It's just
so that's from
across
the eastern
GTA.
extremity of Toronto and out into the areas just outside the city.
And it's basically built on existing track?
Yes. Which is why it can be done faster and cheaper, because the tracks are there.
But if they're there, what do you need $2 billion for?
You need to electrify the trains, because the trains can't have frequent stops if they're not electric. Diesel trains start and stop very slowly, and you need it to build more stations, because right now the GO trains, the regional commuter trains, have trains only every half hour or every hour, and they have only very infrequent stops. This will have subway-like frequency of stops and subway-like frequency of trains. So the trains will come every 15 minutes, and the stops will be quite close together, so you can get on and use it to get where you need to go. And that's what the money's spent for, building the stations, doing the electrification. It's expensive. It's a 53-kilometer train line, so it's a very long line. And at either end, in Markham and Mississauga,
this is getting to be a very big
yes,
city,
it's a transformational project. And at either end, there are hundreds of thousands of jobs today, and plans to develop those areas much further with jobs.
And now, will this be also a significant alleviation of the commuter congestion?
That's the whole idea. Commuter congestion, both cars and transit, because it'll provide another way to get around, other than if you like transit already, but this will be another transit line that's big and crosses the city. And it will, I think, help a lot of people to decide not to use their car anymore, because it'll be faster and cheaper.
And if the track is there, I mean, the beds are there. They might have to change the track a bit, but if the basic component is in place, you don't have to expropriate property and light track.
That's right. Well, that's part of why it's faster.
Then will it be capable to, or possible to, put it in place relatively quickly?
7 years, which sounds like a long time, but relative to, say, a subway, the next subway project we're planning to build is 12 to 15 years out, because of the need to expropriate, because of the need to dig tunnels.
Now that's another east-west line, is it?
It's called the Downtown Relief Line. It's sort of a bit north-south and a bit east-west. It's a bit of both, but it's meant to just provide another choice. And when you look at the Japanese ambassador came to visit here at City Hall recently, and he brought me a map of their subway system. I'm not sure whether
in Tokyo, you mean?
It's
everywhere.
To make me jealous and envious.
It's under every street almost.
But they have 39 subway lines. Yeah. We, as you know, have basically sort of 2.5. Yeah. And there'll soon be a third. But
London has 18.
This transformational project is my biggest priority, because I came to office saying, for the sake of families, for the sake of social, just a sound sort of social fabric, but also for the sake of the economy, that I would make a significant difference on people's ability to get around the city and connect them to jobs. And so if I get that one thing done, and keep the finances in good order, and make some progress on affordable housing, and attract investment to the city, I'll be very happy that I've been a good mayor, and a mayor that people will think contributed to the well-being of the city in terms of something. But the one project is transformational, that's Smart Track.
Now, you're a very well-traveled man. I mean, let me ask you this and try and be absolutely objective. If you had to rate the cities of the world that you know, in terms of, by two counts, great cities, I mean, interesting, historic, exciting to see, very engaging, absorbing to be in, on the one side, and by the second category, sort of good, livable quality of life. They may not be exactly the same.
I don't think they are.
Yeah. Then where would you put Toronto in both scales, and what are the other cities you'd put at the top of both categories?
I think on the historic sort of side, in terms of how many museums do we have, and how many, you know, sort of great works of art, and how many, you know, fantastic sites that are part of history, not so much. I mean, I think it's a very pleasant place to visit. There's lots to see, but I mean, compared to Paris, it's very different. But what I think will be the deciding factor over time is going to be that people will come here because of what we've got and the way we live together and the way we've established this incredibly diverse community and established a way to live together and have a thriving economy and have, you know, have social peace and a degree of social justice that's better than many other places. I think people will come here because they'll say, well, there's enough to see to keep me amused and there's enough history that I can be interested, but I'm really coming there because I want to see how these people have decided to live well, to make a livable city. Because you asked the two different questions, the historic, interesting, where I'd say we rank, you know, at a sort of 7 out of 10. There's lots to see here. I think we underestimate how much there is to see. But on the livability...
And it's quite a nice looking city.
Yes, on the livability, I think we rank at a sort of, I won't say a 10 because that's the gesture perfect, but we rank at a 9 out of 10. And the challenge is going to be, how do we keep it there? And that means you've got to fix transportation.
Well, raising the other one a bit.
Well, you'd like to do that. And I think that's where a commitment to the arts and culture, you know, people think of that as kind of some kind of a nice to have. It's better than that.
No, it's better.
Arts and culture are important in terms of the soul of the city coming out, and you can see that when you're in Paris or London. But they're also important to attracting economic investment. I mean, I've learned in spades this connection between a thriving creative class and embracing of diversity too, by the way. I mean, I think the way that we embrace people who are gay and people who are of all different races and religions and so on is an important part of economic success too, because people will say, if you're, you know, willing to embrace creativity and embrace diversity, then you're the kind of place we want to be in the 21st century. So I think people looking at the city in 20 years, if we make the right decisions and if we continue to address issues like carding and like economic opportunity for people, they will come here and say, this is actually one of the models for a 21st century city. And on the livability, it already ranks number 1, I think, this year in the world, according to The Economist, number 1 most livable city in the whole world. So, you know, you don't rest on your laurels or you don't assume The Economist is the Bible, but you certainly say that's good validation of what we're doing. And the history part will come. You know.
On that, you know, I live in London part of the time, and I used to be a homeowner in New York too. And Londoners and New Yorkers were completely flabbergasted that this city didn't have an opera house before a few years ago. Just absolutely stupid.
Well, you know, there were 19 false starts, and again, this is part of the timidity. And you and I could have a whole different program where we talked about why government operates the way it does, but I essentially think there's a culture of fear that is set into public services now compared to the old days of when Mr. Roosevelt, Mr. King, and Mr. Pierce, you know, public servants were bolder then because the consequences of making a mistake or going down the wrong path a little bit weren't the way they are now, where you're written up, you know, on social media within minutes of something happening that's the slightest bit controversial. Failure is deemed to be sort of almost a capital offense. Whereas, you know, you learn in business, I certainly did, that failure was a part of learning how to be successful, and that failure happens. Nobody's perfect. No business,
you can
no
try
government.
or give up without trying.
But
That's
here, you know, you're sort of almost drawn and quartered, you know, if you make a mistake on the basis this is something where you intended to do it to hurt people, as opposed to being a human being. And so I just think that fear has set itself right into the whole government culture now, and everything is set up on a basis of people trying to protect their own backsides with consultants and lawyers and contracts that are like this, and so nothing gets done. That's why nothing gets done.
John, thank you for having us.
Thank you for
every good wish to you
Thank you
as mayor
very
of this great city.
Thank you.